Hey friends, today we're going to be starting our new packet. We are done with the Midwest region, and for now we're still going to be trying to learn all the states and capitals, so we'll go back and learn all of those. We'll continue to review, but we're moving over to the West section, which is this section right here. And so those are the states that we're going to be focusing on. So you need to find your packet that has the purple W up in the corner, and then meet me on page 2. Today we're going to be doing some reading on page 2 and then some activities on page 3. And like I said, we have our new region. We're focusing on the West region. Okay. So we can see up here all the states. You recognize some of them. Okay. So those are the ones we're going to be focusing on and trying to learn the capitals for those as well. Okay. All right, let's start reading. The West region is a massive area with different kinds of landforms, climates, and people. There are beautiful beaches, deserts, large forests, and huge mountains. So think of all the different places to visit over there. The Rocky Mountains are the most spectacular feature of the West. And I'm guessing that you have heard of the Rocky Mountains, haven't you? So we're going to learn about that. They stretch from Canada to New Mexico. The mountain range is often called the backbone of America. So the Rocky Mountains is sometimes called the backbone of America. Alaska and Hawaii are also included. I should have highlighted those. Okay. So we are including Alaska and Hawaii as part of this region. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. Nonetheless, they are both in different geographical locations. Okay, so we can highlight those two to say they go with it, and therefore have different climates and landscapes, because we all know that the climate in Alaska is different than the climate in California. Most people in the West work in the timber industry because of the many forests that are in the region. So that's a big, big job that people do there. They like to cut wood and do all that kind of stuff. Technology is another major industry of the West. Sometimes when you hear about Mac or Apple, a lot of times those are coming out of California. Okay, a lot of technology stuff. Okay, and then you've got the population size up here, which you might get some questions about on page 2. You've got how many states we're talking about. So there's 11 states in this region. Okay, you could count them up there if you wanted. And the major cities are Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Seattle. And then they have some cool did you know facts down here. The West region is home to the least populous state in the U.S., which is Wyoming. Okay, so look up at your map. They have the least amount of people in the U.S., but they're in the West region. And then they also have the state with the highest population, which is California. Okay, so they've got within their region, they've got the state that has the smallest population and the state that has the biggest. Okay, our another fact down here says most Native American tribes live in California. The West is the largest region. Okay, so we're going to be learning about all these different regions, but the West region covers half of the U.S. It's very, very big. So meet me on page 3 for some questions. Now I know last week we did our first packet, which looked very similar over the last couple weeks. I'm sorry. So you will start to get very good at these packets because a lot of times it's the same questions, but obviously different answers. So you're going to start to get more familiar. Okay. So like for instance, look at number 1, how many states are in the region? We just talked about that, right? So for these questions, you're going to need to look back at the information that we just read, right? Remember how we said that there were 11 states in the West region, okay? And when I look at number 2, it says, which other regions does the West border? So you're going to need to go back to the front page of your packet and see which other regions are touching the West, okay? So see if you can figure out which other 2 regions, there's going to be 2 there. Okay, go back to your front cover and look at the West and see which 2 regions are touching them. Okay, and I think the rest of the questions you should be able to easily get when you get down to number 2, exercise number 2. They're going to give you a clue, and we talked about one of the big geographic features in that. Remember, it was a certain type of mountain range. The number of lines that are there is the number of letters that you should have in your answer, okay? Remember that big mountain range that we just talked about? Okay. And so figure out the rest of your answers. It kind of helps that they tell you how many letters are in it so that you have an idea, okay? And always remember, if you have any questions, to come on to Study Hall, and I'm more than happy to help you. Thanks, guys.